Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic, and we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then do it for your children.
Black book is in the
Hey, Black book.
Men Talk, Black Book. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And you are watching Black Men Can Talk with myself, Kofi Sadat. What is going on, Kofi Sadat?
What's up? What up? What up? What up, everybody? Hey, listen, man. I am good. I'm in a great mood. I got to start this off with a little.
Okay, what's up with that?
Listen, that's for the Blue Jays, man. I don't.
Hold on, but you're wearing a Montreal Expos cap.
Oh, I can explain.
Okay, we are listening.
Our superstar, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., right, son of Vladdy Guerrero Sr.,
Yes.
who used to play for the
Montreal Expos.
That's right. So I'm keeping the foundation. I'm keeping it tight. So the folks who don't know, we used to have a team in Montreal, and of course we no longer have that team. But the superstar of that team, his son is now the superstar of the Toronto. And this is all about Canada, anyways, right? This is like, Blue Jays. We're in the semifinals. I know the game's about to kick off. So yeah, man.
Are we keeping away from your game?
Nah, man. Listen, this is the game, right? and we got Black Nerd Talks.
This is the game.
So more about the game. This is the game.
Wow, I like that. This is the game.
This is the game.
Remember that. This is the game. Okay,
man, this is the game.
I have to be honest. There was a time I used to watch sports like crazy.
Yes.
I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I'll catch highlights online, things like that. This stuff is more important than the sports stuff. That's just me.
This is it, bro. This is it. This is the game. This is the game of life. This is the sport, right? This is it.
Okay. Coming in hard on Thanksgiving weekend. Okay.
That's it. But I'll say this: if anybody wants to kind of like let us know the score now and then, that's all good. I won't be watching. I'm not talking about this. We'll deal with that later, right?
I'm not really paying too much attention. Got more important things as I go along longer my journey. Things like that become less important. Just me.
All right.
What's a win we've had over the last week?
What is a win that we've had over the last week? Well, you know what? I started. I guess I started to do like an outreach session in a school in North Etobicoke. Looking for, some young Black people, grades 6, 7, 8, to join an Afrocentric after-school program. And the school was so amazing. It was a huge school, but the response, just the interest from the young people around being in a cultural program was just overwhelming. Like, it was just great. And just to see their energy and to remember, like, I don't do a lot of work with that age group anymore, but their energy was just so there, so involved. Like, it wasn't like just talking at them. They were, talking back and letting us know the things that they're interested in and stuff like that. So it was really nice, just again, to remind yourself about that playful, joyful energy that our young people bring. So that was a win. It was just great to be in that space and that energy. So I look forward to the coming weeks, doing some programs with them and just engaging with, our young people, right? So that was a win. What about yourself? What was your win for the week?
There's so many, but I even up to this morning, I was hanging out with some gentlemen and I asked them this question: at this time in your journey, what do you value?
Good question.
And also, at this time in your journey, today I'm in a real deep mode today. I've been just been real deep, and I'm getting more and more deep. And also an additional question: what do you value in your relationships?
Good questions. Good
And we
question.
had a really strong conversation. One gentleman said family. Another one said, I said love and leading with love.
Right.
A gentleman said respect. It was it just something hit me just with those group of gentlemen. I could just say, you don't mind if I ask these ones? I say, no, this is good. We talk about it. We share about it. We can be unafraid in regards to just really sharing. As I call like a vault conversation. So what was said there stays there.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Listen, man, we have to, explore those questions and, open up to that. So I love hearing about that,
Yeah, it was really, really good to hear. And it just came out of me. I just said, this is that moment. This is that moment. No, other people can relate. You ever have things that just your intuition just says go with something?
Yeah.
I just went with it, and the results were overwhelmingly wonderful and positive. So that's a win. That's a win. Are you enjoying the long weekend?
I am. I'm going to give my second win because it's related to the long weekend.
Okay.
My sister had a milestone birthday on Friday, and it was just, like we celebrated yesterday. We went out to a restaurant, but it was just so nice to see the different generations of, of family just all interacting, all connecting. And, we did a little trivia about my sister and a lot of things I didn't know. So even though it's a sibling and whatnot, there's always room to grow and explore. So yeah, definitely I love that. So yeah, man, I'm having a great weekend. The weather is nice. I actually, funny enough, my niece just returned from Calgary where it was snowing. So
whoa.
Yeah, no complaining, Toronto people. No complaining about the weather. It was snowing in Calgary, she told me. So she just arrived about an hour ago. But yeah, so
that's probably one time where the West says, "Hey, I'm glad to be in the East." Most of the time, the West says, "I can't stand the people in the East," but
there you
go. That is cool. And well, my mother raised me, said, "Son, there's at least two things you never discuss with a lady: age and weight." So I'm not going to even go near.
There you go. Either, yeah. So it was milestone birthday. I'll leave it at that.
That's all I'm saying.
Milestone birthday, right?
So I'm staying away from that. No, staying away from that. Actually, I just came from a family get together, and we had 3 generations. Actually, yeah, 3 generations.
Love it
at that event. So it was pretty cool. All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to do some housekeeping, and then we've got Kabir, who we haven't seen for a while, but apparently he wants to come on and drop some knowledge bombs.
I'm there.
I don't know what he wants to share about, but I'm ready to receive.
I'm ready to receive.
After I'm ready to receive, and also give if he allows us. If he allows us, he's got that block nerds talk thing going on, so he's a little celebro, right? So so we'll be back in 30 seconds. So we have Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala.
But will some of these places stand up and say, no, you can't come to our country? Because if they set that precedent, you might as well set the world on fire.
Right. He literally wrote an executive order defining what womanhood is.
This is the times that we live in now, y'all. You can either be mad about it and make yourself sick, or you can decide what you're going to do with your life and make it positive.
You got it. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. Aisha K. Staggers, Laura Lala Key, where they try to make sense of the nonsense that's going on in America. So that's a big task, but they handle it quite well. So let's do some housekeeping. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. I think another thing we want to just make sure people if they are up to it while we are live, we want to make sure if you want to call in, there's a little bit of a process, but we're going to go through it right quick here. So as I'm putting on the bottom of the screen here, you go to callme.rode.com, which looks like that, and use the code FSPL8L. And then after you do that, when you click on continue, you're going to be on you're going to go to this site here. And what you need to do is enter your name, make sure the echo cancellation is in green, automatic mic gain is in green. You just put in your name and then press, if it behaves here, join call, and we have you in live. So that's all you need to do.
There you go.
That's all you need to do. But here's the man. Black Nerd Talks. Well, a few moments ago, he wasn't nerding really good because he wasn't here. He was a dark screen. We know the man is black, but he was a real black.
Wow. You went black.
Yes, real black for a few months.
Black to the future. Okay. All right.
Black to the well, there you go. Black Nerds Talk. Speaking, there he is, Mr. Black to the. No, he's Black Nerd Talks, not Black to the Future. Kabir, what is going on?
I'm well. Just had a lot of. You guys can hear me fine, right?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yes, this was having some weird technical issues. The first time I had technical issues with StreamYard, so I'm good.
But I made a suggestion. It worked.
Yes. And it's funny because whenever people are having tech issues, I'm usually the one who gives them that. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, it must be. And it's like, try just refresh. I'm like, oh, okay.
Listen, we were saying in Jamaica, shoemaker never have a good shoe, which basically means the tech person doesn't have good tech. So there you go. You got to work out that tech. There you go.
I'm telling you.
How you doing? How you doing? It's been a minute.
I'm all right. I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in a good space. I'm in school right now. So
What are you taking?
Education assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you have to go to school. You have to go to school for that now?
From what I've seen, you can apply, but it just helps the fact that I would have that in my resume, the fact that I've done that, when it comes to getting jobs moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. So, definitely.
Is a teacher somewhere in your vision?
No. But well, actually, yes, because I live with her. But and my
good one.
Good take.
And my father-in-law is one, well retired now.
Right.
And then my grandfather-in-law was a principal.
Okay, so
education all around, brother. Education.
Yeah,
so you're gonna be in the educational field, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So two things that are relatable there with myself. I was an educational assistant for 2 years in a public school back in the day in the Forest Hill area.
Okay.
And I actually applied for teachers college twice, did not get in. And the funny thing is, back then they said there's such a need for black male teachers, but there's still a need for black male teachers.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, my dad was a public school teacher in the same public school downtown Toronto, Bathurst College area for 38 years.
Hey, bro, I got the trifecta. I was an educational assistant at Cape Avenue Public School. And it made me recognize that I wasn't cut out for the school thing, at least the teaching part of it, right? But great experience. My mother was a teacher as well in Jamaica. So, yeah, man, it's all around us, man. It's all around us, But, yeah, so what is the end game for you when it comes to the educational assistant? What do you really want to get into?
That's a great question.
You still figuring it out?
Yeah, so I would say the end game. Sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I would say the end game is entrepreneurism. After this is to go back to school also to get my psychotherapy degree. So the idea would be for me to the thing I've learned, the thing that my wife and I have spoken about is that 9 to 5s don't work for me.
Right.
I just don't gel with that. I've seen how I've seen it, and it's funny because it's the same thing with my dad, and I just seeing, you know, how like things are passed down. My dad, he had some challenges when it came to 9 to 5s. I'm experiencing the same thing right now around this same age as like when he started experiencing it too. So I've realized, in terms of like, this going to work for somebody, it doesn't match with who I am and how I operate, which is funny because I usually outperform everybody I ever work with. Within like about, if I start anywhere, any agency, within about a month to 2, I'm already outperforming people who've been there for 3 years.
Yeah.
So
because you're a boss, bro. You're a boss. That's what it is.
I hail you up because you realize that now at your age. I wish I realized that at your age. But for many of us, we have to go through the corporate plantation to realize that, you know what, this is just not me.
Yeah. I'm not trying to cut cane for the rest of my life for somebody else. Right? That's what it is.
That's a crazy line. I like it.
Yeah, but you know, also to add, like, I think it's important to listen to your spirit, man. You know, a lot of times we go round and round and round, but if we really were to listen to how our spirit feels about where we are, we know that we're not in the right place and we need to be in another place, right? And I think that's very important. Like, I would say for anybody listening out there, again, 9 to 5 doesn't always work for everybody. You know, there's particular challenges.
9 to 5 doesn't really exist because there's so many different work schedules. Plus, with the time where so many people are being called back to the office.
Oh yeah, that's another.
It's more like 7 to 7 because you got to look at your transportation time, getting ready, decomposing after work.
7 to 7, more like 7 to 8.
Yes, I was gonna correct. Yes, because when I said decompose from work, I said 8. Okay, 8.
Yeah, for sure.
8. Kabir, why don't you introduce yourself to our audiences? We know you. You've jumped in once in a while, but tell us who you is.
Tell everyone who I am. Well, I'm originally from. I'm not gonna read my bio. I'm gonna go off the dome. I'm trying to get better, pitching myself, if you will. Originally from Montreal. My dad is Nigerian, my mom is Trini. So I grew up mixed in various ways, and I didn't quite realize that until later on in life, like now, having conversation with my Caribbean friends and my African friends. Grew up being a nerd. I wasn't the outgoing son. I was the son who wanted to stay inside and play video games and draw. Grew up going to school. I ended up creating a esports community, which is still thriving in Montreal around like fighting games like, Street Fighter, Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear. Moved here to Toronto in 2015. I've been doing community work for over a decade now throughout all the GTA. I even started doing community work in Montreal as well, along with the esports stuff. Big advocate for men and boys, especially Black men and boys, with all the programs and services I do, both in and outside of work. The work I do it's once again is generational because my grandfather did it in Nigeria, and I didn't know until like much later. And then my dad and my mom did the same thing, and that has passed on to my wife and I. So I think that's a good spiel of who I am. Currently going back to school, educational assistant, and then I'll be going back for psychotherapy.
I got a few questions for you.
Oh,
one I know you're gonna say yes. First one's gonna be yes.
Okay.
Do you know my boy Zip from Montreal, Stephen Hennessy? Yes? No?
No, I don't think so. Maybe by face.
Yeah, he does a lot of community work. He's on the radio as well. Reminds me a lot of yourself in terms of the community stuff that happens. But then the other question I have, because it seems like it's a theme. You talked about the education, first of all, and all the family members and connections that you have, and then you talked about the community work around, your father and your mother and your grandparents. So the question I have for you is the work that you're doing, how much of it do you think is in your genes, like genetically related? Because to me, I don't believe in any accidents. And sometimes we have, like, the same way you would have a family of griots or musicians, and it's passed down, right? But it seems like in the community work realm, that seems to be like a family legacy piece. So how much of that do you think is part of your, your genes versus your individual drive or connection to do community work?
That's a great question. And even as I already had an answer, and then as you're asking that question, I had a deeper level of reflection on it. Short answer, I would say 100%.
Right.
The thing I kind of reflected on, because I always thought like these two things were disconnected. When I play video games, when I watch anime, comic books, and all that stuff, I'm drawn to the community-oriented characters are always helping people. The Supermans, the Captain Americas. And, prior to, I thought it was just kind of disconnected from like my upbringing and who I am. But I think because of who I am and what I grew up with in terms of my parents, I was always drawn to those characters. I was, even like when I hear the stories of, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, those stories are drawn to me. So no, I would say 100%. It's influenced even the characters I like, whether I'm watching a show or I'm playing a video game, everything, all that stuff is very much interconnected. When I learned that the requirements to be a chief in Nigeria, so in the Igbo, I'm Igbo for people who don't know. The Igbo people that have chiefs, they don't have like a traditional democracy type of system. Yes. And so one of the requirements to be a chief is to give back to the community. And when I learned that and how my I'm like, and then it passed on to my dad, who did a lot of support for the Nigerian and Trinidadian communities in Montreal. I'm like, okay, so this is generational. This is bigger than me. It's more than me.
Right. I love it. I it makes me think about it too, because we both have children, and I think when they do those career testing in the school, right? And how much of that do we have within our own system to really look at our children's inclination? Not to say they always have to do what we're doing, but sometimes it's bigger than just me and you, or just as a parent or an uncle or whatever. But sometimes there's a family legacy that our children, when I say our children, I don't mean our genetic children, but children in the community that may not be aware of, right? And I wonder how much that would, change in terms of the things that they may want to get to in the future. But yeah, it's just kind of made me wonder. I'm just thinking about that. But yeah, Dr. Vibe, I know you got a whole lot.
Where? Oh, before we go any further, I just want someone has said hello, so I want to make sure we heal them up. Frequency Event Promotion says, gentlemen, happy Give Thanks Day. Love that.
Love that.
Give Thanks Day. I love that. Ebere, where and when and how did nerdism enter your journey?
That's a really good question. Like I say, even when reflecting back on my childhood, I didn't like to play sports like that. If anything, it was kind of running because of like Sonic the Hedgehog, but really and truly, like I wasn't really a sports person. Right. It was only really like, even as a childhood, like I just wasn't physical like that. And it was only like when he was the best man at my wedding, by my childhood best friend. He's not even a best friend, he's my brother. He introduced me to the real concept. Like I was always kind of watching anime and into games. It was only really when him and I connected back in high school. I was like, this is my stuff. This is my jam. This is the stuff that really brings me joy. Right. That like I just can't. I've tried other things. I got older. I tried sports. I tried dancing. I was pretty good at dancing. I was okay at basketball. Yeah, I retired though. After my wedding, I retired from dancing. I told my wife, like,
that's a good retirement time. Good retirement. That's a good time to retire.
Yeah, I was just like, I told Deb, I was just like, because we gone to like her side of the family weddings. I'm like, what was it? July 23rd? That was the last time, man. I don't know what to tell you guys. So, yeah, I tried other things.
Date stamped. Okay, got the date. All right.
Yeah, there was one specific time. When my sister first moved here for her residence, she's a doctor. Right. In fact, Dr. Vibe, you guys follow each other on LinkedIn. Fun little fact.
Okay. And
I came to her. It was 19. I came to help her move and set up her stuff. She was single at the time. No, was she? I don't know. Point being, I was helping her set up her stuff, and I was also my first time going to Caravana. I'd never been to Caravana, and that was maybe because I'm also neurodivergent, or people would call that, like, it was very overstimulating.
Oh yeah.
And a lot. Yeah, I at that point I never had a girlfriend. So to go from that to Caravana, if you guys get what I'm trying to say, it was sensory overload. And I remember I didn't bring any of my gaming stuff with me. I just had like comic books. And I remember when I got back to Montreal, I went and opened my Xbox and I was like, this is like Caravana. I was like, I didn't enjoy it at all. Right. But when I got back to my Xbox, I was like, this is what brings me joy. Like, I had to be separated from to really know, like, I tried a whole bunch of other things again.
Right.
This is my thing.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do is a few things. First of all, we're going to take a little break, like a really, really quick break. Right. And we have questions for you, brother.
Oh, man. All right.
Sorry to bring this to your attention. So we've got questions. So we're going to take a really, really short 10-second break. Give you a chance to inhale and exhale. We're going to come back with some questions. Hold on.
You are watching Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community.
Told you it was quick.
That was
Told you it was quick. We just needed time for you to catch your breath. All right. And one of the I think I have permission to call it Dr. Vibe family is in the house, and he's usually jumping in from he's in New York City. He usually is on the morning vibe, which I do with Brian Knight, 9 a.m. Monday and Friday mornings. But I think this is a good question for both you, but I'll put this up. How do you approach balancing advocacy work with mentorship, especially when both can be emotionally demanding?
It's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sometimes I need to read the question from my brain to fully
No
process.
problem.
There's a really good quote I shared it with a friend who I was working with, still a friend, and it was, learn to observe, not absorb.
Say that again. Say it one more time.
Learn to observe, not absorb.
I like it.
Paul, do you want to jump in, or because he has another question?
I was going to ask him. Give me a little more detail on that philosophy.
I avoid taking other. This is not just with the youth I work with. Like, I generally avoid taking on for lack of it, I think this word has become like a social media term, but it's the only one I can think of right now. Traumas and pains of other people. I don't really like take it in for the most part. No one's perfect. And I try to understand it's more than me, it's outside of me, and try to connect those people with the extra supports that they need. And then I would say also I approach it from like a village standpoint. So one of my young guys, I've known him for like 3 years now. Now he, like, I've been supporting him. I've seen him grow a lot. Right now he's in college. He's about to graduate. He's thinking of going back to school for psychotherapy. I'll say his initials KM in case he's ever checking out this episode. And right now he is now playing a mentor role with my nephews. So building that connection. He also is friends with a lot of the other young men I've mentored throughout the years. And, just iron sharpens iron, as the saying goes, right? So building that connection rather than trying to be, because I find that when it comes to like community work and advocacy, we try to be the everything and everyone for somebody. And it's like, that's not sustainable. Like, what happens when you're not there? You're not going to be there all the time. So who else do they have support and access to?
Exactly. Well, I would answer this question in this particular way. For me, at age and stage that I am now, family first, right? So when I say family first, above advocacy and above mentorship. But I also will add that I've come to a place where I've been able to integrate my work into working community into family life, right? So a lot of for example, I know that you've mentored my two older sons. They've been to your programs, right? So there's a connection even there, right? I can refer them to you, or or whatever, and stuff like that. So when I say to integrate it, a lot of times, um, work is in the 9 to 5 conventional sense. But what I've recognized over the years is I'll see Ebb in community. I'll see Ebb at the dollar store. I'll see my young people that I've worked with at the grocery store. I'll see them out in community events. And I think that seamless connection actually helps to sustain yourself, because you don't always have to be working, right? But I do agree with you around, not taking too much of that home, right? Having, an outlet, whether that be games or sports or going for a walk, or, spending the time, right? So I think it's important to have enough things that separate that, and also for your family to know that, right? Like, in my case, your family time is your family time, right? I'm not like, coming up, I was not very good at that, because I was taking the calls in the car, right, during family time. I was out in the park on the phone during family time, right? So it's something that we have to get to, because yeah, you're right. It could be emotionally demanding, Food Plane says. But I think as you recognize that imbalance is never the best thing for yourself, right? Sometimes you've got to just separate those two things and really make the room for each of them to thrive. So that's kind of where I would come from it. What about yourself, Dr. Vibe, in terms of balancing, the work, in emotional?
The first thing that comes to my alleged mind is boundaries. That's as I've gone along more in my journey, my boundaries have become more rigid and more intentional.
Yes.
And that's a really important thing, because if you're not good for yourself, you're not going to be good for the others that need you.
Right.
And just realizing that. And once in a while it's out of alignment. And it's funny, the times that it's out of alignment is when I misplace things.
Right.
That's a red flag in my journey. Like even up to yesterday, maybe I can put up here. I have this. One of my challenges is misplacing things that are really small, right? And one of those things is this little thing here is a 4 terabyte drive. Right, gotta get nerdy with Black Nerd Talks here, right?
Yes.
So, and total honesty, I had a show yesterday at 5 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock I couldn't find it. And the funny thing is, it was not too much from the time I last had it to the time I couldn't find it. Wasn't more than 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going all around the place, and I realized that I left it on the kitchen table. I had put it.
Those are like getting older moments, bro. That's how it goes.
So those things. So boundaries, alignment. I think, and alignment. Not only is not. And people say, "What do you mean by alignment?" Well, if you drive a car, how does it feel when you drive a car that doesn't have a good alignment? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I make sure that I intentionally take rest time every day, at least 15 minutes to myself every day.
Right.
I'm still blessed that I work from home. So when I'm having block, my go-to thing is a shower.
Yeah.
And also having mentorship for me.
I like that.
And I'll throw this out to the Black men, that those who love them, because I don't want to take too long here. A number of years ago, a gentleman reached out to me. He said, "Hey, Dr. Vibe, I need your help." I say, "What do you need?" He lives in San Diego. He says, "I want you to be part of my board of directors." I go, "What do you mean?" Board of directors says, so what he had is every month he met with a group of us, and he would share what was going on in his life, and we would provide him feedback, and he would just receive it. It was a unique idea. So I have a board of directors. They don't meet all the time, but I have a group of men who, when I'm not certain about things or I succeed at things, they hear about it.
Nice. I love that.
So it keeps me balanced, because I may see things through a certain lens. They may see it through a different lens.
You go.
And they'll give me the feedback, whether it's good or challenging. We all care about each other, and it's reciprocal. So you really, to me, you've got to have your boundaries. You got to have your boundaries, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Exactly.
All right. There's another question. Food Plane, you got us going here. This is especially though for Black Nerd Talks. He says, how do you think gaming and anime can be used as tools to discuss masculinity and identity? Great question.
We're getting deep, bro. We're getting deep this week. You gotta
Food, look, I'll tell you, Food Plane is all in.
This is it.
When I tell you, he don't play with his questions. He's fam. He's Dr. Vibe fam, so he's coming correct in a good way.
Listen.
Okay. I have to tackle this in two parts. Okay, so for gaming, one could be the narrative. Well, for one, we all know like males make up, I think, like at least 60% of gamers. If not, I think it's like 60. I think it's closer to 80% of gamers.
Right.
So that's just one facet right there. So just from that standpoint, that's already a conversation point, right? So one of the things I've seen wherever I've worked is pushing the youth out of their comfort zones, because oftentimes, you know, there'll be a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and you know, they'll only play NBA 2K, right? Because that's what's socially acceptable amongst to play the sports games. But when you challenge, when you bring in, you know, the Naruto games, the Super Smash Bros games, it's not outside, it's not within their norm, but getting them to play those games force them to step outside their comfort zones, and that can extrapolate into other avenues in their life as they get older. Mm-hmm. Another aspect to it too is that, like, in terms of masculinity, when you look at anything competitive, it builds character, whether it's on the court,
right, or
online. Right. The thing I've spent some time observing is how, you know, when you're playing, when you're competing, you know, he's talking that ish, he thinks he's that. It's like, then beat him. And that was my thing when I was working when I was working in Dorset Park area. I remember one of them said, "Oh, he's talking all this trash. He's saying he's better than us." And you know, you should go talk to him. I'm like, no. If you don't like what he's saying, either you have two options: don't play the game,
right,
or get better and beat him. That's what I had to deal with growing up in the arcades and stuff. Oh, he thinks, beat him.
Yeah.
That's how it is in competition. It builds character, because life has competitions in it. So you have to build up that resilience. Another standpoint I would add is stories. There was a game I played called Ghost of Tsushima, and the big conversation at that point was just like, how much do we have to give space to honor when our adversaries, the Mongols, are not following a system, a code of honor? They're doing what they have to do to win, so we need to do what we need to do. And the main character have to go against his stepfather. His stepfather's rules of what the expectations were as a samurai. He's like, being a samurai is not going to save our people. It's just going to get us wiped out, right? That's just a story right there. So the conversation of just like not going with, because he was on the verge of inheriting his stepfather's, you know, estate, if you will.
Right.
But he got removed off the will because he didn't follow through with fighting like a samurai. He fought more like a ninja, you know, like going underhanded, poisoning. And that very much went against to expand on their cultural traditions. Anime, there's actually an episode I'm actually planning on. I had a conversation. I'm always at community events. You know, I have some, you know, I don't have my own biological kids yet, but I have some surrogate kids. And one of them, she came with me to the community event. Very nice, pretty young lady. See her like a daughter, kind of little sister. And I saw how, you know, as soon as I walked in the room with her, I saw the young guys out perked up. I'm like, first of all, slow down, relax. One of them, I remember I told him to get something from her to charge his phone. He was just like, oh, go talk to her. I'm like, first of all, just get your charger. Don't talk to her like that. Just get your charger. Anyways, I remember one of them went to go talk to her, and he just started oversharing all of his life experiences. And, you know, we followed up with, I had a conversation after. She's like, I was completely turned off. He shared too much. I don't even know who this guy is. And so one of the episodes I'm planning on is around Superman, in the sense of Superman and Daredevil, Spider-Man. Look how powerful they are. How many people do they share their secret identities with? As powerful as they are, Lois Lane had to go, for lack of a better word, like a test.
Yeah.
Why Superman to even get it, even in the movie, the one that came out.
Right.
As much as she knows he's Superman, he's never brought her to the Fortress of Solitude. Let's start using some discernment the way these superheroes do in terms of who they let in, to how you value your own self.
I love it. I like the way you answered the question. It really, it is taking it to another level. Especially, I'll say this, right? I grew up more of the jock kind of guy, the more sports head kind of person, playing sports, following sports. You know what I mean? And had some other friends that were more into gaming. Kind of, I never was a gamer. I was never into games, to be honest with you. I mean, early games, I'm going way back, the Atari, the Gemini, and just for Dr. Vibe, the ColecoVision. I go way back then, the 128s and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I loved it, coming up. But I would say, I asked the question in terms of, and I like what you talked about the 2K, because I think this is related to it. So a lot of times young Black men, are pushed into just really sports, right? To be an athlete, to be a jock, right? And I know, like you said, the Black nerd, the terminology of being a nerd is usually an outcast because, he or she does not follow that script. So what would you say for, young Black people who like anime, who like video games, but they might be having that social pressure not to, express that like or that love or to conform into doing sports? What would you say to encourage them, to maintain that love and even to socially handle that pressure? Right? 6'5" Black guy in high school.
I work with some of them.
Right. So yeah. What would you say? Like, what advice would you give to them, and maybe even to their parents too, right? Because maybe their parents, don't want them to be pushed in that particular way. But what would you say to a young man or young woman, that loves the gaming, but they're feeling the social pressure to be more into the sports or whatever that else?
Yeah. First, I would say.
Is that a Vulcan thing?
Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang ain't nothing to F with, right?
Okay. Wu-Tang.
The first nerds. Let's think about it. Let's go back in hip hop. What were they? They were not the norm. Now they're accepted. But when they first came up with the Wu-Tang and the Chinese martial arts, everything, they were considered weirdos.
Right.
It's always been with us. We've always been like this. There's this sort of weird denial of this sort of like culture that we have of loving this type of stuff, like the martial arts, the Jackie Chan movies, the Jet Li movies, the anime, it's always been with us. In fact, there's a new game that came out called Shinobi, and I was kind of on the fence. There's two games that were kind of about to be released, right? And then I was scrolling on YouTube and I saw a thumbnail, and it was like a black ninja, and I was like, but the ninja's Japanese in the game. And I saw YDB, and I said, no, the son of old dirty,
young dirty.
His son did the music video for the game, and if you heard it, like I even showed it to my friends, were like, yo, we're just like, yo, it's like this track is crazy. It convinced me to buy the game. That was the last thing they had to do. As soon as I saw the music video, I was like, I need to get the game. So it's always been with us. In fact, it's more popular than ever, right? Yeah. So embrace who you are. With a lot of my young guys, I actually praise them for I'm like, man, if I was acting there's a period of time where I was not comfortable with being me because I was told who I am by all metrics. A lot of my family didn't think I'd be married to a beautiful dark-skinned Black woman, but here I am. They're like, oh no, everyone was thinking I was getting married a white or Asian woman, to be honest with you, because of how different I am. But no, it's accepting who you are and what you like. And tapping into it. In terms of the parents, I remember I had there's one young boy, probably young man now, and I think about it, and he created a community through PlayStation Network. When I say community, I'm talking about tiers of responsibilities and privileges. And he did this. This is not like what I did offline in Montreal. He did this purely virtually, where it was him and his cousins and his cousins' friends that were like 30, 50 plus.
Wow.
Just offhandedly through PlayStation Network without any assistance, any guidelines. Create tears.
Wow.
So I remember speaking to his mom and letting her know, I'm like, I sent her a job posting from the company called Ubisoft. They play Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia. Sent her a job posting. I'm like, community development. At the time, this is like 2019, 60K. This is what your son is doing right now. So the thing I encourage parents to just lean into it rather than tell them you need to be a doctor or an engineer. In fact, I have a little small story where because my parents, I didn't like school as someone who has a learning disability. We tend not to like schools, like to going to school. And so my parents never bought me the Game Boy. And remember when I was a kid, Pokemon was the thing. And so because my parents didn't want to get me a Game Boy, I remember what's it called? The Scholastic thing. I don't know if that kids still have that, where you
order the books in school.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I ordered the Pokemon guides, and I, with like a huge sheet of paper, like if you took a bed, like a double mattress,
right?
If you laid out all the sheets, I actually replicated the entire Pokemon game through sheets of paper that if you laid it on properly. From Lavender Town, all from the first town and the different grass areas and Lavender Town, we run into the ghost Pokemon. I even had like like when you get the ghost Pokemon in the game, the map changes.
Right.
So I even had like a change for when you got all of it. What did my parents see? He's not focused on school. He got bad grades. He took it away.
Yeah.
So I think I encourage parents to do as much as systemic. I'm going to speak on our people. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it a bean. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it tall. When it comes to our people, yes, it's a white supremacy is a thing. I can acknowledge that. Right. But when Billy's parents saw that he did the Pokemon map, they sent it to Nintendo. And now he's making 120K designing Pokemon characters at Nintendo, and he's 21.
Yeah.
What did we do? We take the map away. We tell them to go do the thing that they don't want to do in the first place.
Read your book.
Need to go to school, but that's the reason I sent that to him. I'm like, don't take. I know he's not doing great in school. There's other alternatives, but to take away the PlayStation, you're taking away his opportunities because he's already doing something that people are going to. I'm in Mohawk right now. There's actually classes for what I did in Montreal with the gaming scene. There's actually community development for gaming.
Wow.
Her son is already doing that at the time 13.
Well, I'm one of those parents that took away the PlayStation, but listening to you now, I think, again, this is just so deep, like to think about that. So a lot of times our children express this genius, but because we're not able to see it, it ends up to be a punishment situation. But I'm going to kick it to Dr. Vibe. I see a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, I saw him do I know when he does it's question times.
Yeah, well, no, this is a beautiful thing because you two are driving the ship. I'm just staring at between you two and the food plane. The food plane is on fire. Like you said, love that you're showing how nerd culture and identity can coexist and empower each other. Mm-hmm. He also says, I still play video games. And he says, I will be 90 playing PlayStation 15. We also have some, I'm going to go to one of his earlier let me do this one. He says, and this again be for both of you or all three of us, he asks, what role does community play in helping people rediscover themselves or their sense of belonging?
I would say, I could simply say, really short, is that we all come from somewhere. We all come from community. And unfortunately, in kind of the Eurocentric framework of the world that we're in now, is we believe that we're individuals. But we all come from somewhere, and we all come from a community. It's not always known, right? But we do come from a community. So I think community definitely shapes your sense of identity and your sense of belonging. So that you're a part of something, right? I know, for example, so much examples, but I know, like, I had a lot of friends I'll talk about some of my work. So I worked with a lot of children, teenagers that are in child welfare, forgot the name they have it for in the States, but anyways, child welfare, which means
Child
basically
protection, I think, is what they use in the States.
yeah, basically the government has taken away the children from the biological family and placed them with another family that is in a position to take care of these children, right? So a lot of them that I work with, they're all black, young black children, or let's say youth, right? They're all teenagers. You know, and probably 95% plus of them were put in the, you know, in a home of parents that don't identify with their culture. So often it would be white families in very northern places where there's no community, right? So it's just one thing to be placed in that place. But when we took them in doing our rites of passage process, right? One, they found, because they were coming from different places, so they found community, right? And, you know, other folks who were in the same boat. Then they found community because we were mentoring them. Then they found community. We brought in folks like Dr. Vibe, who are elders and mentors in the community, right? And their whole sense of belonging, because for them, the challenge was that, oh, it's just me, you know, in a white world, and I don't know who I am. But to see the reflection of who I am, and for people to get me without saying a word, right? So community plays a huge role. The same way if you're displaced from community, right? It's hard to know yourself. It's hard to have that sense of belonging if you're taken out of the community. So I think community plays a huge role in that.
All right.
Yeah. How does community help in this rediscovering stuff? To be honest with you, as I've been doing the work I've been doing, the term I like to use is my dad keeps leaking out. Like all the things that like my dad used to say, which I found really annoying. I didn't like to hear him. I'm like, oh, I'll even say, I'm like, oh my God, I just said that. I literally just said what he said. I remember one time, one of them, I was chewing him out for, I can't remember what the detail was. But I remember telling him like, I'm in your life. Not, there's a lot of people who want me in your life. You need to use the resource I have access to support you in terms of, and I remember like, it's exactly what he said to me when I was his age. And it made me mad. The fact that I'm saying his exact words verbatim, I wasn't even trying to, it came out. It's been a unique experience on that standpoint. I would say one of realizing how I grew up was very Pan-African. You know, in terms of, like I said, the music I listened to, the food I ate, and then it proliferates into the young people I work with. And then on top of that, a lot of those young people, like I said, one of them is, you know, mentoring my nephews. One of them, the one who I brought with to the community event, she lived with my sister for like a good year. Now she's going back to school, so she had to move again. But a lot of them have also become family. So it's been a process of, you know, building a relationship with them, deepening it, allowing them to be there for me, right? Instead of just it being a one-way thing. That's what we often think when it comes to, you know, mentoring and supporting, is that it has to be one way. And then just seeing how much my parents have influenced me, even like I said, just unconsciously quoting my dad, as much as I dislike it.
It's there, man. It's there.
Another question from the food plane. What are some of the biggest challenges male youth face today when it comes to finding purpose and direction?
That's a broad and good question. I would say knowing they're enough. Knowing they're enough, knowing that there's nothing wrong with them. And, you know, I was having this conversation with my co-host, you know, I have other co-hosts for Black Nerd Talks, and I've been thinking about what's more important, policy or media representation. And at first I used to kind of see them as separate, but now I'm at a point now in my life, you know, analyzing all the stuff I watch and, you know, the things I play or interact with, I'm like, media is really important. So along with that is just having them seeing a positive representation of themselves outside of sports, outside of entertainment, that feeds into their self-esteem.
Yeah. I would say, you know, interesting enough, And I think it's not just young men, but I just think it's men in general. Is finding a space where we belong. And I'm gonna say again, I'm gonna have to hail the show Black Men Can Talk, because a sister was saying to me again this last week around it's how important it is for Black men to have a space to talk. But I'll even go as far as saying that when we look at other institutions, school, for example, the young people that I connect with, including my children, I have a son that's in high school now, and there aren't a lot of spaces of, I'll say, excellence for young Black boys. And I think it's more systemic. So, for example, they're not joining a lot of the clubs, or they're not represented in terms of the school community. We see that, I would say even in the areas, when I say the areas I work in, like social work, you see it's highly dominated by women. So, and often the question is, where are the Black men? But I think a lot of these spaces are not as welcoming for Black men, to be honest with you. So I think that one of the greatest challenges, is where do we find a space that's safe for us, and where do we find our tribe? You know what I mean? Because there's a diversity. Like, Eb is talking about, he's a gamer guy. I'm talking about, I'm a sports guy. Dr. Vibe's a media guy. Not to stereotype us, right? But let's just say, as Black men or Black males, we're very diverse, right? But where do we actually find those safe spaces where we feel welcome, that we can excel? So I think that becomes definitely a challenge, not just, with finding your purpose and your direction, but just even finding a direction that works for you, right? So, yeah.
I was gonna say FUBU, for us by us. I think we definitely need more unapologetic male spaces for boys. That kind of goes into what I said about entrepreneurism.
Right.
One of my aims is, I'll put out there, is to start running programs in school with Troy, with Iron Sharpens Iron in school.
Yep.
Right. So that these boys can normalize. I think it's very hard. The thing I've seen with the men who are around our age and older is that, like, because of these systems by design, it's very hard for us to commit to spaces that are for us. But the thing with younger people, which is why there's more funding for them, is that they're more malleable in terms of their mindset, and to normalize being in spaces with other men and boys and to have conversations, it feeds into as they get older, and then that creates more of those spaces where we can support each other, we can navigate things with each other, right? I was having this I think I was having this conversation with with my wife, and I was saying that within all, like, the spaces I've worked in, the only men that have looked out for me exclusively are older Black men, not men my age, not women,
right?
Only exclusively older Black men, and all of them are my are mentors in my life. But those are the only ones that have looked out for me when I was dealing with defamation, false allegation, thinking I'm not working. It's the only demographic that's looked out for me. Wow. We need to build more of that, and also so that it's not just older men; it's men who are around our ages who are willing to, advocate for us too.
So there you go, men. There's a space for you, right, to be mentoring and looking out for the youngers, right, despite your age. But yeah, sounds like there's an opportunity there.
I know we're just a little bit past the top there. Do both of you have time for one more food plane question?
Listen, man, food planes always
right.
Up, right?
And he says, how do you define empowerment in the context of community work?
I'd ask him what he means by empowerment, but
true.
I would say empowerment. Offhand, I would have to say, how would I word it? Language. Yeah, I would say these two things: language, policy, and media.
Yeah.
Language, how we're able to articulate and express ourselves and our needs and our unique experiences. policy that goes without saying. You guys, I'm sure you guys heard what happened in Kentucky. Yeah, with the whole absolute 50-50 upon divorce. Divorces went down. I'm not saying, all people who want divorce are bad people, but it does say something that as soon as it became mandatory 50-50, divorces went down, policies. And then, like I said, media, movies like the Spider-Verse. I was having a conversation with one of my friends, father of 2 sons, and we were just joking about how, like, Miles Morales has these little boys in the chokehold. Every boy wants to be Miles Morales. We need more of that. We need more of the static shocks. We need more of the Blue Marvels. We need more of having better representation of T'Challa. Right now, they just haven't been killed off in every media representation, right?
Right.
Because of Chadwick. We need more of that. So I would say those things in terms of empowerment, because it allows us to see ourselves in a better light. Yeah.
And I think part of empowerment really is the ability to navigate your own ship and your own journey. Like Elder Louis would say, right? Like you got to be a driver or a passenger. And I think, we need to be more drivers than passengers, right? Because often, you're going down a road that you don't know if you want to go left, right. But for the most part, I think for me, the empowerment piece is really about our ability to drive the ship and to be able to, define what we want to define for ourselves, right? So I think that's when it comes down for me, at least I would say.
All right. So the food plan says empowerment, helping people realize their own strength and potential, not just giving them help, but showing that they already have the ability to grow and lead. Yeah. And he adds, providing access to tools, knowledge, and opportunities that let individuals or communities become more self-sufficient.
Precisely.
Creating a sense of ownership, making people feel that they have a voice, value, and influence in their community.
On that piece, I would say go from a strength-based approach. That's the technical term. But I usually, like, whenever someone's asking, like most people or like younger people out, like they'll come and ask me for my advice on something, I'll just ask them what they think after they tell me their story. Like, what do you think?
Right.
Do you actually want to hear what I have to say? And usually, like most people, for the most part, we already know the answer. We're just hoping that someone else can confirm it for us. So I'm like, no, you already know. You already have the tools and resources. You're just as capable as me. I'm no better than you.
So the food plan said this about 10 minutes ago. It said, okay, I will slow down now. So
you can't slow down the food. He's it up. You talked about the Wu-Tang, the chef. You know what I mean? There you go. He's chefing it up, bro.
Well, food plan is a good man, and I love how he has some really good, deep questions for all of us to think about. Bear, what is next with Black Nerd Talks?
So I'll just put it out there. I'm hoping to do right now. Schools just I'm trying to just adjust the school system. Otherwise, I would have had a lot more content I dropped. But right now, it is applying to grants. There's a guy that's been making some rounds on social media, black male therapist. I don't know if you guys heard of Jeff St. James, but he's been making some rounds, man. He's been making some rounds on social media. I'm hoping if I can get him for an episode on the one I want to do about Superman. I think there needs to be a conversation on male vulnerability. I do not think boys and men value their vulnerability as much as they should. So hoping for that. Trying to get through this degree. It's been
You're going to get this degree. Don't try. You're going to get it.
When I get through this degree, I'll be glad. And yeah, no, I would say those two. I would say those are some of the things. Getting some grants, new episodes coming out. There's an anime I watched, and it was the third time I watched anime where I actually cried. One Piece. Just the idea of it was One Piece when it first started back in 2001 versus where it is now, where a character is being sent off into slavery along with his family because of his ethnic group. Let that sink in.
Damn.
And then his woman gets captured by the superior race, if you will, in the show. Yep. Ends up getting pregnant, and contracting an illness.
Mm.
Child ends up catching that same illness. And I'm just watching that. And I'm just like, yeah. And then the mom passed away and he's raising the child. The child has caught it. Now he has to make agreements with the government that put him into slavery to save his daughter, even though he's part of the Revolutionary Army. I was like, this is a lot. So one of the episodes,
complicated.
Sorry?
It's complicated, man. That's how we have to sometimes navigate this world, right? It's very complicated.
So I'm planning an episode on fatherhood.
Yeah, Food Plane says breaking down the stigma around vulnerability is huge for healing and growth. And it says we definitely need more conversation about emotional honesty among men. I will take you up on that. Facts, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage in motion.
And not everyone deserves to have it.
Go. If you want to get a hold of our friend here, there's his Instagram, there's his link tree. I've put it in the comments section on most places that you are watching this live or on the replay. A few things before we close it down. So let me just do. Okay. Our friend Kofi Morris is not here, but if you want to get a hold of him, getwellstayfit@gmail.com. Instagram @KofiCoach_, and then Cosmic Wellness Group. Facebook, Kofi Coach. Mr. Sadat, Nazajam, @gmail.com. Instagram Maroon. I love that handle. Maroon @Maroon. That's MOOREROON. I love that. Naza Community on YouTube, Facebook, Paul.Osbourne 31. Myself, if you want to find out more about me, easy. One link. taplink.cc/The Dr. Vibe Show. Also, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and my website, thedrvibeshow.com. And as always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. I think we have one more comment. Food Plane says, Ebere, thank you for what you do to make the world a better place.
Thank you.
Received. Love that. So as we kick it up, because I think we always have things to do.
Always.
Don't we? Well, at least I think most of us will have a day off tomorrow. Most of us, but we'll still find things to do. We close out. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger, block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher and wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. As always, make it better. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith. Walk good.
Time that our parents, they're like, I have nothing to teach you. I don't know nothing. And
My dad's at that point now. It says,
That's my point.
But I'm saying, no, Dad, you got lots more to give. You know how cold it is when these two brothers in their yard.
You know that. You know that. You don't know that, bro. You know
No
that.
joke.
I know we all have these things, but you know what? My go-to is this thing.
Wow.
Black book is in the black.
Black
Black
book.
Men Talk, Black Book.